Hi, I want to talk to you about advanced financing strategies. Structuring your finances the right way is as important to MRD as the property you buy. To ensure this part of the process is done right every time, I decided to bring finance in-house under the MRD umbrella in early 2010. Launching MRD Finance off the back of the global financial crisis when business and consumer confidence was at an all-time low may not have seemed like the smartest move, but I was determined to fix what I perceived to be the weakest link when it comes to responsibly building wealth with real estate. I knew a highly efficient, resourceful and experienced financed expert would allow us to further enhance the MRD set and forget for busy people strategy and ensure our clients would benefit from our expertise in advanced financing strategies. My quest to develop a team as skillful in finance as we already had in property took a huge effort and involved making a few mistakes along the way, but it has absolutely been worthwhile. By looking at your existing situation and loan structure, MRD Finance can easily identify which better deals may be out there and available to you. Perhaps there's a better deal or a better way of structuring your loans, often without even changing lenders. What was the best deal on offer 2 years ago may no longer be. Seemingly small adjustments can over time save you many tens of thousands of dollars, as Katrina and I recently discovered. Last year, MRD Finance showed us how to personally slash $3,000 from our interest payments across 3 of our property loans. The best part was that there was no refinancing whatsoever required. I'll quickly demonstrate the powerful difference our advanced financing strategies can make to your bottom line. I'm going to use a real-life example with real-life numbers. Let's assume you and your partner are an average couple earning $80,000 and $30,000 respectively. You decide to buy an investment property for just a little under $417,000 plus costs. That's about another $15,000 and it covers stamp duty, legals and so forth. So your total expenditure is $437,000. In preparing a comprehensive cash flow analysis for you, we will assume you borrow the whole lot. This means you will actually start out with a loan-to-value ratio of almost 105%, giving you a negative equity position initially. As they say, garbage in, garbage out. The figures used in any cash flow analysis are vitally important. For example, if we showed a 25% deposit, including costs, with just 80% borrowings, your out-of-pocket expenses would be sitting at around zero, give or take a little. This is a classic smoke and mirrors trick some less scrupulous people use to create the illusion that a property is positively geared, or at least positively cash flowed. Be very careful and check the numbers used in any cash flow analysis, also ensuring that your actual incomes and actual rents are all added correctly. So for this example, you and your partner earn $80,000 and $30,000 and have just secured your first investment property with a 50-50 ownership split. Rents and tax savings in, less costs out, including interest, management fees, provision for rental vacancy and so on, leave a weekly shortfall of $244 a week. Who wants one? Now, this cash flow shortfall is an investor's #1 roadblock. You see, if a well-located property in an area of limited supply with increasing demand was affordable, who wouldn't want to add it to their portfolio? You know that over time, rental incomes and property values rise. So the issue today is one of affordability in those early years. By making just a simple adjustment to the ownership split, so that it's owned 90% by the higher income earner and 10% by the lower, your holding costs come down by $30 a week to $214. Remember, the goal is to find a way of affording a great investment, and doing this has gone some way toward it. I want you to forget just for a moment that we're talking about real estate and think of this as going into business. Who would like to own their own business and take control of their destiny? Especially a business that requires no staff and no selling. a very passive type of business. Whether or not you think a business that will initially cost you $214 a week or about $11,000 a year to maintain is worthwhile or not will depend on the return you expect that business to deliver. Do you know, a 5% return on that $11,000 investment would return back to you $550 a year. Likewise, a 10% return would deliver back to you $1,100 a year. Well, in our example, the $11,000 investment was to secure property. Now, if the property grew in value on average by just 9% per annum, that is, it doubled every 8 years on average, then the capital growth per year would be $37,500. Now, note that historically, median price growth is about 10% per annum, or an average of 7 years to double. You know as well as I do that you may go for years before seeing any significant growth, but equally you know that there comes a time when it seemingly doubles overnight. Well, that $37,500 as a return on your $11,000 investment is a 340% return. All of a sudden, this is looking like a pretty good business. Now that said, $214 a week may still be a cost of living challenge that you can't deal with or that would be irresponsible for you to consider taking on. For others, that isn't going to be a problem. It may just represent your coffee and lunches at work for the week. And perhaps by adjusting some spending habits during those early years of your property investment, when cash flow shortages are at their greatest, you could afford to add a property to your asset base and really begin to address your future financial needs. For now though, I'm going to assume you can't find savings in your budget to absorb this additional cost and that you want to see a better cash flow outcome. Keeping your I'm in business paradigm for a moment, $214 a week or $11,000 a year means your business running costs represent only about 2.6% of the asset's initial value. At that rate, you will break even if your property doubles in value over the next 27 years. Anything better? That is, if it doubles sooner, you're ahead and your business is profitable. Speak with MRD Finance to determine whether our advanced financing strategies would work for you. Assuming they will, and without changing any other numbers that I've used so far, the cost for you to hold this very same property will come down to just $69 a week. Again, if the property were to take 8 years to double, that $37,500 of yearly capital growth represents 1,045% return on your $69 a week shortfall. Can you imagine sitting with a financial planner and being offered an investment return of 1,045%? You'd know immediately that it was ultra high risk and you'd stay well clear of whatever he was offering, right? Well, I'm talking about residential real estate, so how good is that? Of course, this is not a cash return, and this is exactly why most people fail to understand the true value in what I'm suggesting, until it's spelt out to them as I'm doing here now. Nobody is going to send you $37,500 at the end of the year or add that amount to your bank balance. This is a medium-term investment which delivers an equity-based return, but it is nevertheless equity that you will be able to access tax-free. That is, so long as your property is owned personally and not in a company or trust structure. On that note, there are pluses and minuses for owning property inside of entities, and if you're considering going down that path, please be sure you get both sides of the story. I meet way too many people who were sold the benefits of buying inside a structure, but were never told the downside. Project yourself 10 or 15 years into the future. You own a number of properties that have enabled you to amass many hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. Someone you love, perhaps a child or a grandchild, requires a life-saving procedure that will cost $10,000. What do you do? Well, contrary to what many people would tell you, property is a very liquid asset. Some argue that property is not liquid because you have to first sell it to realize your gain. That'd be like killing a cow to get milk. With the right finance structure in place, you can simply write a check and hang on to your asset. It doesn't get much more liquid than that. Oh, and if the property is in your name, there's no tax payable whatsoever on the $10,000. Copying the activity of a successful person is a great start, but there is so much more to being successful yourself. The right attitude, mental toughness is a must, as is ongoing support from a team of people around you who understand those many little 1%ers, as I like to call them. The right accountant, the right finance specialist, and the right property mentor are all worth their weight in gold. I encourage you to do everything you can to beat the banks at their own game and give yourself the greatest possible chance of success. Talk to MRD Finance today about ways to save on interest and greatly reduce your property holding costs.